Well, it was a heck of a burnout and even more impressive performance. Kyle Larson dominates. I mean, dominates. A perfect race. Well, since the last time he had a perfect race, Bristol in the fall. What I mean by perfect, he won stage 1, he won stage 2, he won the race. Dominant race, short race, only 3 cautions at Bristol. Welcome to NASCAR Inside the Race. I'm your host, Steve Letarte. It was weekend, Thunder Valley, triple header weekend. We saw trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. Kyle Larson ran all 3, won 2 of the 3. It was an impressive performance. We're going to talk Larson. We're going to talk tires. What happened? Big concern coming into the weekend. Tire wear ended up not being a big situation in the race. We're going to talk Blaney with this crazy kind of off strategy that had a chance to work out. I'm going to break down exactly how I think it could have worked out. We're going to talk a little bit of Carson Hocevar was running third, bad pit stop, kind of put him to the back. We're going to take your questions, and my old buddy Jeff Burton is going to join me to break that all down. But before I move into the breakdown, I want to take a moment as well. We heard Kyle Larson mention John Edwards in his burnout. We've seen the stickers on all the cars. We saw Jeff Gordon mention John as well. I want to take a second, and I as well wanted to say something about John Edwards. As a 25-year-old who was promoted to Jeff Gordon's crew chief, John Edwards, as a PR guy, took me under his wing and kind of protected me from me. He was an ultimate mentor, an ultimate guider of the public eye. He taught us all in the garage how to be better people because he was as good as they come. So he'll be missed. And I want to make sure I said something. John was a special person. He's an irreplaceable type of soul. And I know there was a lot of nice things said about him, and I want to make sure I said something on this. So for John, John's family, John's loved ones, our heart goes out to him. But well done by Kyle Larson to celebrate John. And to break it all down, I got my old buddy Jeff Burton here. Jeff, I'm going to bring you in. Where do we start? 7 times Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin have won 1-2. But for the first time ever, it was the driver of the 5. Kyle Larson, top of the mountain, beat Denny Hamlin and beat everyone at Bristol.
Yeah, well, 2 races in a row, all right? He's almost led right at 900 of the 1,000 laps over the last 2 races, 873 to be exact. Just dominating. And we've seen that in the past. Think about Darrell Waltrip at Bristol, how many races he won back-to-back. Rusty Wallace is so good at Bristol. It's something that we've seen in the past. It's hard to do. I mean, it's very hard to go dominate. All the changes that have happened, everything that always is moving, Steve, you know how quickly technology changes, and Kyle Larson and that team just on top of it. And Kyle had a great weekend, by the way. He pretty much dominated the Xfinity race on Saturday, ran really well in the truck race. So a really good all-around weekend for Kyle.
Kyle Larson's 15th win in the next-gen car is the most of all drivers. 31 career wins and only 375 starts. We've broken all these stats down and we've compared them to the other, type drivers, the Jeff Gordons and the Jimmy Johnsons of Hendrick Motorsports. And he's kind of on pace with both, if you can believe it. Hendrick Motorsports is 315 career wins now old. That's unbelievable. 14 times at Bristol. It's really kind of I think that the season is kind of taking shape for me. We look at Bell early. Byron had another good run. I'm talking season in general, right? Bell goes on his hot streak. We saw Denny go on his hot streak. We now see Larson go to victory lane. I feel like, the Gibbs Hendrick contingent starting to stand out a little.
Yeah, for sure. And it's Bowman had a good day going. He had an engine failure. But you mentioned Joe Gibbs racing, Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, and Chase Briscoe finally kind of having solid days. Ty Gibbs, it's been much talked about how many bad races he has had. But to go run third, he's had pace a lot of times. He just hadn't finished races. They've been in a lot of wrecks, had some failures. But that has to feel really good for Ty Gibbs and Chase Briscoe. Just kind of, anytime you go into a new situation and following, a champion, you have such high expectations, and it didn't get off that way, did it? It kind of started out badly. So to have a really good, solid, ran well all day long, 11th in stage 1, 9th in stage 2, and 4th overall, that's a really good, solid day for Chase Briscoe. That has to help Ty and Chase both build some momentum.
We'd like to talk about how people won the race. Well, Larson basically won the race when he unloaded. I don't know what else to say. But I do want to bring this comment up right here. I'm going to bring this up, and this is going to be popular with some and unpopular for others. But this fan says, anybody saying that was a boring race, simply put, you are not a race fan. So I'm not going to be that bullish. I appreciate the comment, but I'm not going to be that bullish. 3 yellows. Basically, that's what we saw. A couple stage ends and one other yellow in the race. I'm not going to tell fans how they're supposed to feel. Did I think it was the most captivating Bristol race? No. Was I bored? No. I thought Denny Hamlin put the pressure on at the end. I thought the 36 drivers that took the green flag showed how great they were because they made Bristol look easy, which it isn't. But it is definitely a different Bristol. We have seen so many different versions of this racetrack, from the, go as far back as you want to the, around the bottom Dale Seniors, all the way to the, Jeff Gordon bump and runs. And then the top got dominant. This was the bottom dominant. The top kind of came in, but not as much as it used to in the past. I want to add tires into this conversation, but just talk about the race in general. Jeff, I don't want you to give it a grade, but like, where are you at on the meter? It was okay for me. It wasn't the best ever. It wasn't the worst ever. Like, it was okay. There's 36 of them. I don't think it was a failure, but I'm probably not going to highlight it when we come to the end of the year. Bristol spring race is probably not going to be on my highlight reel unless you're Kyle Larson.
Well, Steve, you and I consume races differently than most people do. We can watch almost any race and we're entertained because, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of information. We go back and look back in the field about what's going on. So I'm never bored. But if you tuned in wanting to see a Bristol race that you remember from 20 years ago with the wrecking and people throwing stuff and all those things that we watched the clips of Bristol, then you were disappointed. And, because that wasn't that. It was nothing like that. But not everyone has to have that. So I'm with you. I'm not going to tell a fan if it's a good race or a bad race. That's for them to decide. I do think it's important to recognize that, we go back, think about William Byron dominated Darlington, didn't win, right? They didn't win. They didn't execute. They didn't get it done when they needed to. It's so close. If you make a mistake, you may not ever get it back. You have to give credit to the team, the driver, crew chief, pit crew, everybody involved that can take a car that's really, really fast. That's a big accomplishment. The second big accomplishment is executing, not making the mistakes, having the right pit stops, having the right restarts, making the right passes at the right time. We saw Kyle Larson in the wall with only a few laps left. But, I don't think people recognize how hard it is to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, because I would say the majority of the time, the fastest car and fastest driver didn't win the race because a lack of execution. You get caught up in somebody else's stuff. You have something happen. So I'm on the edge of my seat all the time for every position because I know how much it can change. But, on this day, there was no doubt who had the fastest car. The question was, could they execute? Could they have the right pit stop? Could he have the right restarts? All the things that it takes to be successful. And they did. And I think you have to congratulate them and appreciate how difficult that is.
Well, let's talk tires, because it was the conversation at Bristol now for 3 races at Bristol. Let's go back a year. Very cold day at Bristol, and we have this tire wear phenomenon where drivers can't even run full speed. It was tire management, on steroids, really. I mean, you could literally burn the tires right off the car. Shockingly, Goodyear and the teams agreed to bring the same tire back in the fall, warmer racetrack. You and I covered that race. It looked like every other Bristol race, right? There wasn't this tire wear, wasn't this big concern. We go back this spring in practice. Oh man, tire wear is back. Panic in the garage, panic on the broadcast, panic by the people. We even saw drivers start the race running, I'm going to say a percentage, definitely not 100, 60%, 70%, 80%. It was a little cat and mouse. Finished the final stage. 1 green flag pit stop is all it takes. I want the fan to think about that. That's the same tire. Nothing has changed. 3 different times. From yesterday to today, a totally different kind of result from the tire. I have my opinions. Jess, I'll let you go first. Why are we seeing this? Should we be concerned, or is this just how difficult it is for Goodyear to try to fix?
Well, I think it could be all those.
Yeah.
But, the only difference from today to yesterday is temperature. And, it's about 10 degrees warmer today than it was yesterday. I was at the racetrack yesterday. I watched practice. I watched a lot of cars after 15, 20 laps looked like they were horrible to drive. And then I watched today's race, and I shouldn't have even gone yesterday to watch that practice because I learned nothing. And the difference is temperature. Now, granted, the Xfinity cars ran their race. There was PJ1 applied to the bottom of the racetrack this morning, but that's been consistent. Like, that's a consistent thing that's been happening. So the outlier is temperature. It was about 10 degrees warmer. The race that we had, the tires come apart. It was colder, and that's what it appears to be. And it's kind of funny, Steve, because when we had the big tire problem at Bristol, then the drivers were like, keep that tire, which surprised everybody. Like,
surprised me. I thought we were going an about face.
Yes, we'll figure it out. Keep that tire. And so Goodyear had the courage to do that. And then we go back and have no issues. And then everybody said, it's not the same tire. It's not the same tire. There's no way it's the same tire. It's impossible. Yesterday and today is the answer. We saw yesterday that massive tire wear. We saw it. It was out there. I talked to a lot of crew chiefs. They're like, hey, man, after the fall race, I came back all cambered up. I got aggressive again. Here I am. Then they're like, oh, no, what's going to happen? Temperature came up, no issues.
Yeah.
So clearly it's a temperature issue. And that's how close Goodyear is dancing on the edge. And I give them a ton of credit. They have been, my goodness, they have built new tires, different tires. They got rubber on these tires. They didn't even think they could build, and they found a way to do it, adhere it to the race. I mean, you felt it. It's the softest rubber you and I have ever been around. Never have we had rubber this soft on tires. Never. And, so I give them a lot of credit for trying, but clearly temperature had a lot to do with it.
Larson wins. Hamlin with maybe the quietest second known to man because it was an impressive second, right? Second in stage 1, fifth in stage 2, second in the race. Ty Gibbs, Briscoe, you mentioned. Blaney, we're going to circle back to Blaney because he did have an off strategy. I want to talk about why he did it, why it could have worked. Byron, Chastain, Bell, quiet day. The Dinger continues to have, I'm going to tell you, this Colleague Racing team is way better than it was a couple years ago. Big step up for Colleague. We see Ty Dillon having better speed than I've expected at times. We had the Dinger running 9th, Dillon 10th. Hocevar, I want to circle back with him as well. So let's talk Blaney. Green flag pit stop, second stage. A little bit of confusion on the green flag pit stops because everybody comes way shorter than they need with fuel. Then all of a sudden they go back on the racetrack and they are faster. I've heard a half second. I heard 0.3 of a second. I didn't have timing and scoring in front of me. Definitely faster than new tires. But Blaney runs long. All right, so at Bristol, half mile, under green, you only pit down one of the straightaways. So under caution, you run both straightaways. It's a really long pit road. Under green, you only run one of the straightaways. That matters because basically, your loss to the field is not as big as you think it is. I mean, it's still significant, but it's not crazy. So Blaney stays and stays and stays and stays. Larson pits. Why does Blaney do this? Here's my point. For a very big chunk of time, Ryan Blaney has Kyle Larson down a lap. At one point, he has everyone down a lap. He's the only car in the lead lap. If a caution comes out at that point, then he can pit and get tires and automatically restart the leader. Now, there will be a bunch of cars that take a wave around, but let's talk about these rules now. Lead lap cars, then lap down cars, then free pass cars, then wave around cars. They're all the way at the back. Now, look, I don't know how many 2 lap down and 3 lap down, but the wave around cars, I don't think, are going to line up right next to Blaney, right? He might have 4 or 5 car gap back to Larson, maybe not positions, but physical cars. He might even have more than that, depending on who takes the wave around and who doesn't. So for the people that say, man, it cost him, he was running 4th when he ran long. He rejoined the racetrack in 9th. He drove it up to 5th. So maybe you could say it cost him 5th, 1 position, but we don't know if he would have fallen back a position or not. It's impossible to know what would have happened. I loved this gamble. Unlike a mile and a half, unlike what we saw caught Byron out, at Darlington, this isn't about track position. This is about laps. That is why I like this strategy. I just want to have this conversation because everybody can say, well, wait a second. You didn't like it last week when William Byron did it. Why do you like it when Blaney did it? Because at Darlington, it was about position on a lap. Think of a clock on the same clock. Well, once you lap the person, the risk and the gain is inherently different. That's what happened with Blaney. Right? What happened with Blaney is having Larson down a lap makes this strategy work. He's not losing time. A caution would have been absolutely great. It didn't work out, but great work by the 12 team, giving themselves a chance to beat the dominant car.
Also, Steve, is important to note, if all those cars that were one lap down when Blaney pits, they can't pit. They stay behind the pace car, 1 or 2 to go. They wave them around. They come back around the racetrack, but they're not allowed to pit. So now Blaney's sitting there with 4 new tires. The people behind him can't pit because they all wave around to get their lap back or 2 back. Now they're, the 2 down or only 1 down. The 1 down are on the lead lap, but they got older tires. He's got new tires. So that was a great call. And hey, maybe it cost him a position. It cost him a position, but the gamble could have won him the race. And I love that call. I thought it was 100% the right thing to do with a fast race car. He was making good pace. It's understanding the rules, understanding what the opportunities were, and I thought it put them in a position to win a race with a car that wasn't capable of winning. And anytime you can do that, you go do it.
All right, we're multitasking. Rory McIlroy has 5 feet to win the Masters and finish the career Grand Slam.
If you see this,
if I keep looking up, it's because I'm multitasking. The fans that are with us today, I watched the whole race. It was a great day of sports. We had golf and racing on, two of my favorites. So, all right. So we talked tires. We talked Blaney. Can we talk? I went through the rundown. Hocevar 11th doesn't tell the tale. Haley 13th. Great day for Spire. I think we have the Hocevar stop. D'Lo, let's fire that Hocevar stop up here. It was a 22-second stop. Right side looks good on the number 77 Chili's machine. Makes me hungry even looking at the machine. Goes to the left side. Boom. Everything's normal. Boom. Car falls off the jack. I think it's interesting. If we pause it right there, D'Lo, that there's the jack that came out on the left side of the screen, right? So the jack is still jacked up. What I think happens is we can't see because the tire changer's in the way, but it has the look like when he jacked the left side up, it wasn't all the way underneath the jack post. It sat there for a while, and then finally it spit the jack out. The car falls down. I actually think the jack man just going behind pit wall, coming back with another jack. Jeff, I like that move because I question, did it just spit the jack out? Is the jack bent? The jack's still up? You have to release the jack, then tighten the handle. I'm a big fan of just going to get the known quantity, getting the brand new jack and jacking the car. Now, either way, 22 seconds, a lap down, eliminated the top 5 run for Hocevar. Unfortunate situation.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. And most likely the jack that he brings over is the flat tire jack. It's a jack that's made that can get underneath the frame rail that's much shorter.
Great point.
Right? So probably he knows. I mean, that's pretty smart if that's what happened. That thing spit it out. He's like, oh, no, I cannot get this jack underneath the car, even if I let it down. So he goes back and gets a flat tire jack, gets it underneath the frame rail. A bad situation managed well. And that's what you have to do. You can't make a bad situation worse. Things happen. When they happen, you have to respond. And that was a response. What do they say? A reaction is when you take a medication and things don't go well. A response is when you take it and it works. That was a response to a bad situation.
I like that quote. I usually like that, stats will tell you that 1 out of 3 pigs will build their house out of brick. That's the one I like to go with. It usually upsets our stat guys. NASCAR Insights, our boys have sent some stuff over. Great information. No big surprise. The 5 car was number 1 on speed. The 11 was number 2 on speed. As I mentioned, the 77 was 3rd on speed. But his teammate, the 7 of Haley, 6th fastest car today, looking at NASCAR Insights. So really bringing some pace out of Spire. It's very impressive run. And Rory misses his putt. We'll be going to extra holes at the Masters. We didn't get overtime today. There was no late caution in the NASCAR race. So that was a bit surprising. What are we missing of the day? What needs to be talked about? We talked tires. We talked Larson, Hamlin, Gibbs. Was there any surprise? I hate to be negative, Nelly, but man, what happened to the 22? Just
he
not
wrecked
good.
in qualifying.
What's that?
He wrecked in qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so difficult. Everybody's running so close to the same speed. When you give up that much track position, you get that lap down. How do you ever get it back? And then the other problem, once you get that lap down, now you restart, you're starting in the back. So now here comes the leader again. Like it just snowballs on itself. He wasn't fast enough that first run to stay in the lead lap, and that was it. He just didn't have the pace. Now you're starting to back every time behind all the lead lap cars, and here comes the leader, and it just multiplies on itself. Horrible day. I do want to say Austin Dillon with a top 10. That was a good day for him. They executed when they needed to. They were 19th and 18th in the stages, but finished 10th. So that was a good job of getting all they could on that day. And that's what you have to do sometimes, Steve, is got to find a way to claw out good finishes. And Austin Dillon and that team did it with a top 10.
Racing Insights are here to break the hearts of Joe Logano fans worldwide. Joe Logano has yet to finish inside the top 10 at Bristol since that's supposed to say 2019. I'm going to give him the 2109. I'm going to bust on him for the typo, but it is good information for sure.
Where is that team?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So wait, can we talk? Let's go on a rampage. I'm going to go on a tangent for a minute. What about Team Penske? They are like the blueprint of the championship race being at Phoenix. But like, when do you get concerned? When do you say, we've seen this every year? I mean, we got Josh Berry to win a race, right? So the 12 has speed. I mean, the 12's like consistently good. I mean, they have some bad luck, a little self-induced, a little just bad luck. The 22 is more of a, I want to say it's a speed issue, but man, when he's good, he's really good, and they will out and strategy and fuel mileage race more wins than perhaps any team. So I don't know how to grade Team Penske.
Yeah, I don't know either. I feel like that they have more speed at this point in the year than they have been having, because they get hot at the end of the year and they win those championships. But I don't know. Well, here's where I am on Penske. I'm going to wait. I'll tell you when Phoenix is over, because they've proven to me I can't trust them in the regular season. I got to wait till they get to the playoffs. And, they've just been so spectacular in the playoffs. But something with the 22 doesn't feel right. Yeah. Because I know that duo. I know that how good they are. We all know how good they are. And I don't know. I just feel like it's not all there right now.
Well, Team Penske only has 3 top 5 finishes this season, all by Ryan Blaney. Now, they do have a couple others if you include the 21, but technically that's Wood Brothers. So I'm going to take Team Penske as a 3-car organization. One more thing I want to bring up, because it was a little bit of a dangerous situation. Thankfully, I've not heard of a report of any injury, but I want to talk about this wheel coming off the 42 at Bristol. D'Lo, I think, has a little video for us. So the 42 pulls out. Loose wheels are nothing new, right? We've seen them not get put on. You see a hand, they wave their hand. But now here's the tire rolling down pit road at 30-ish, 25-ish miles an hour. Just misses that tire changer and hits the bumper cover on the 99. Super fortunate. That could have been serious. And then it takes, luckily, a pretty clean bounce into the wall. Doesn't get into the crew behind. Scary, scary situation. You and I have seen what can happen. Now, crazy enough, if we look at this as the same kind of pit stop, so now watch on the top right, we have the 99 car. Here comes the wheel into screen, right? Boom, hits the rear bumper. But now let's back that up, D'Lo. I want you to look at I forget, I can back it up. I know, D'Lo, quit yelling at me. He's not yelling, but he really is. So if you watch the front tire of the 99, I'm going to pull us forward. He's going to roll it, and it goes into the pit box in front of him right there. All right, let's talk rules. You no longer have to roll the tires by hand for them to be, uncontrolled, all of those things. What happens, though, is you cannot interfere with another pit stop. So if you rolled it into the box in front or behind and you change the path of the pit crew member, if that pit crew member really touches it and anything, it was an interesting thing, because if it was me and I had pit crew members, I would train my tire changers to touch a tire that's not mine, because that's usually what gets a penalty, is if another crew member touches it. But once it rolls into the gas man for the crew in front, it's a penalty on the 99. So fortunate that the tire coming into play, and I'll play it just one more time. You see this tire hit the rear bumper. I mean, so close to that tire carrier. Man, inches away. Scary, scary stuff. Thankfully, it worked out like it did. Here's a great shot out the window. Look at that gas man in front of him standing there with the things. Now, people can say, oh, that tire didn't really interfere, but that's not the point. The point is you can't roll your tire into another team's issue. So a penalty on the 99, but that tire coming off the 42, scary situation.
No, it's extremely scary. And you just have to wonder, like, if the penalties, I don't know, this wheel coming off thing is ridiculous. Like, it's the teams can.
So, okay, let's talk about this, because we softened the penalties, but the things keep coming off. like, I hate to be this way, but at some point, the risk can't be worth it, right? Like, so I am getting a little frustrated myself. And what I feel is that risking an 8.5-second pit stop, because look, it won Denny Hamlin a race. And they said on Fox, it took a huge chunk out of the lead. So I'm going to believe what Fox told me today. Now their wheels are tight. So my point in saying this is the deterrent has to be bigger. I don't have any good ideas. I'm sure the fans do. They can put them in our chats. But it's like, I feel like the deterrent is not, something is allowing these teams to be at a risky speed. That make sense?
Oh yeah, I mean, you watched that pit stop last week from the 11. I mean, it was so freaking special. But the Jackman is giving no opportunity to really look and pay attention if all the wheels are on. He doesn't have time. If he's going to have, and I'm not blaming it on him. He's doing what he's taught to do. He's trusting that the wheels are tight, and he's dropping that jack. It's a timing thing. He's not checking. Oh, let's see, because that's time. And so I'm with you. The parts and pieces are capable.
That I want to say that I see all the chats, and Jeff, I appreciate your comments. I'm not trying to call you out. This guy right here, but he says fix the car. I don't think the wheel coming off is a car problem. In 10 seconds the wheels are tight. So Jeffrey, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the comment. You have every right to that opinion. I don't agree with it. I don't think the wheels coming off is a car issue. I do think early there was some challenges with the wheels and there was some clearance. So you're not completely wrong, Jeffrey, that there were some tweaks to the car, but I feel like properly installed, the wheels stay tight now. Fair?
No question. And look, you and we had a conversation a few weeks ago about this. Maybe there's a way to have some kind of safety mechanism that it's not all the way on, but the one nut doesn't come off and it just vibrates. The driver's got to come back down pit road. But let's be clear. If they're tight, they're tight. The reason they're not getting tight is because the pit crew members aren't getting it done because they're going so fast. That's what sports are about.
Right.
I mean, that's what they're about. Like we're talking about golf. Like they could swing my swing speed and they'd hit the ball 220 yards. They hit it 320 yards because they're swinging really hard. That's what athletes do.
Yep.
And the negative of that is when you make a mistake, it's big. And that's what's happened with the wheels and tires. I'm not blaming the pit crews because of the situation that they're in. I think what has to happen, you and I are very similar to how we see life and how we see racing. I just think lessening the penalties hasn't done anything. I think that if you said it's a 10-lap penalty, it's a 15-place grid penalty, it's a whatever. Like,
if you're done this week, we're going to park you this week and it's 10 spots next week.
Because nothing else is changing it. Like nothing, you're going to get no points for this race if the wheel comes off. It's got to be so big that the pit crew, the car owner has to go to the team and say, okay, this is no longer in our best interest. It is too big of a price to pay. That's the only way forward, in my opinion. Look, again, if there's some kind of way that we talked about that we could put a safety mechanism on there, that the real
I'm up for it. Listen, if somebody could come up with a better mousetrap, I'm okay. I'm not so stubborn. I'm not willing to make changes.
Correct. But it's just a component of speed, and in every sport they could do it faster, they could hit it farther, they could make the shot from, Stephen Curry, he shoots the ball really long from a long way. Most people can't do that. He takes chances. It works. Not everybody can do that. So that's what they're trying to do. I appreciate what they're trying to do. I'm not upset at them. They're doing their job. Yep. But that situation on pit road, if that wheel is 2 feet to the left, rolling down pit road at the pace that it was running, that is a potential catastrophic problem.
Yep.
And that matters more than anything else.
I'm not going to keep going longer. Before I transition, D-Lo, you got, how about our friends at Reddit or Discord? Does anybody have any questions in there you want to bring up that we think we need answered? What's everybody saying? Our friends on Reddit, I've heard this a lot in my chats. I might do an AMA on Reddit one of these days. Discord's on. Okay, what do we got right here? This is, our friends. Let's see. We got a couple of them. Oh, back 2014, one of the best seasons, sweeping Pocono. Hey, I like this question. Makes me feel. Let me relive 11 years ago. How did the season feel? Look, it was an interesting season. I'll answer this. So, look, I announced I was going to TV. Jeff and I knew we were going to go work together. And you know what it told me, Jeff? You know how when we talk about guys are doing all they can and then the playoffs come and they go over them crazy with all these different moves? I was the same way as a crew chief. I thought for sure that I'm going to read this. Sorry, I'm going to read this question for the podcasting. So the question is, in 2014, you helped Dale Jr. give him one of the best seasons in Cup Series career, winning his second 500, sweeping Pocono and more, which was a Martinsville win. How did the season feel as a crew chief, giving Junior his best season in quite a long time? What I realized is when I said I was going to go to TV and then we won at Daytona, I was like freewheeling it, Jeff. You know what I mean? Like I was like rolling the dice everywhere I can. That's how we won the 2 Poconos. Look, it was a career-changing year. I didn't have it coming. I didn't expect it. So I appreciate the question. D'Lo, what else we got? We got anything else from the fans? D'Lo, here he is.
I'll take a look. Yeah, we got some in here coming up. Give me a second.
Well, so real quick, Jeff, while D'Lo's digging through, quick conversation, engine failures. Bowman's was the 5th engine failure this year. We had 10 all of last year. I don't have an answer of why. I don't know why. For the fans that ask, great question. I don't know why. All I can assume is the reliability was high enough that the engine companies are trying to make more power. That's my assumption. That is purely an assumption. I don't have any fact, but that's normally what happens with failures. Am I crazy?
No. Tractor motors don't blow up. Sorry, Jack Rouse. Tractor engines don't blow up.
Yeah, they're not motors.
They're not motors. When we every week we talk about how close it is. Every week we discuss how competitive it is. If you can find 3 horsepower, that's massive. That's a big deal. So everybody's pushing as hard as they can, just like the pit crew members trying to shave a 1/4 of a second off or a 1/10 of a second off. So are all the engine builders. They're trying to find a little bit lighter, a little bit free of moving stuff, all that, everything matters. So yeah, if they weren't trying to build horsepower, they could run them all year long. It'd be just fine. The problem with that is you'd be about 40 horsepower off.
Right.
And 40 horsepower off just doesn't get it.
Any more questions, D'Lo? I'll give you one more bite at this apple.
Yeah, so we don't have a graphic for this one, but a lot of fans have been asking to kind of go more in depth on the tire or the temperatures, the track temperatures, and how we had such a different race than last spring.
So only thing I will tell you is my years at Martinsville, and basically the question is, with a colder racetrack, tire wear seems to go really, really, really high. So what I believe happens is this. As the ambient temperature increases, the track temperature increases. And there's some magical threshold where the tire, as it wears, it sticks to the concrete, right? Oh, I think we just lost Jeff. That's one heck of a look for Jeff. So I'll take this one. We'll take Jeff out of the screen for a minute. So here's basically what happened. As the temperature threshold increases, the tire goes from wearing. So think about grating cheese on a cheese grater. That's what's happening. Now the difference is grating cheese on a cheese grater on your cold countertop is what happens on a cold racetrack. It piles up and it blows to the wall. Now grate cheese on a lukewarm skillet. It's still grated cheese, but when it hits the skillet, it melts and it fills the skillet. That's really the difference, because then eventually, it no longer grates as hard, right? As that rubber kind of smooths into that concrete, it's like wearing sandpaper away. It is no longer as abrasive as it once was, which doesn't wear the tires as much, right? So, that's really it. D'Lo, I know that's crazy to say, but we're talking like a 10-degree swing, and I think that's the challenge that we're up against is how do you can build enough tires for an entire cup race, right? 36 cars times 5, 6, 7, 8 sets, depending on the week, right? And then have enough there knowing the weather. I don't know about you, but weatherman seems like a great job because you can be, wrong 50% of the time and everybody still loves you. So it's hard. It's hard. You could go to Bristol and it could be 40 or it could be 60 the same weekend. I think that's the tire situation.
And just one more thing I wanted to add, because we had talked about this in last year's show as well, a little bit with the tire testing. Is there another factor with teams pushing overly hard in practice? That's why we're seeing the where we get, and then come race time.
For
I know
sure.
in stage 1 they were more relaxed and weren't, once
Well,
they saw what the tire wear was, they kind of pushed harder. But
I agree
just
totally. Like, look, it's the weather's one thing, but it's also the garage and the driver. This isn't done in a vacuum. Like, adjustments are made. After the spring race, people came back in the fall, way more conservative. Tires made it. Then they got more aggressive here. And then you said pushed hard with aggressive setups, a lot of tire wear. Track warms up. Drivers ease into the first run, right? They ease into it. Kyle Larson said, I don't know, we were just riding in line, That kind of prepped the racetrack. If you drop the green and they just go hard with, like, if you zapped, remember the Men in Black white light? If I zap you with the white light, like you didn't know what happened a year ago, you absolutely could just go in there and just burn the tires off. So, you can't unlearn. Look, intelligence is great, but it can kill some sports. There's nothing that makes a football game more frustrating than data analytics. It can do the same thing to racing as well. So it was good stuff. Good stuff. All right, we lost Jeff Burton, but let's remind everybody it was Kyle Larson. D-Lo, appreciate you bringing the questions for the fans. Keep sending them in on Reddit, on Discord, joining us here on YouTube. Fastest lap, AJ Allmendinger. That's a point. I told you that the 16 car was getting better. Fastest lap for the Dinger. It was Larson for most of the race. So that was pretty impressive. Pretty impressive for Dinger to come up there and get the fastest lap. But in the end, it was Kyle Larson. Look, the guy's done it all. 15 times he's won in the next-gen car. 1,762 laps. 1,762 laps led at Bristol. That's his most at the track and 9th all-time by any driver at Bristol, and he's not done leading at Bristol. So it was an impressive win, an impressive day, and a fun day. Next weekend, first weekend off, only weekend off for the Cup Series. They're going to take a little break. But if you want to see something new and you like throwbacks, let's watch the Trucks and Xfinity when they tackle Rockingham. It should be a blast. If you joined on YouTube, I really, really appreciate it. Appreciate all the chats. Appreciate all the questions. If you're listening on the podcast version, we appreciate it. I try to repeat myself and explain what you're seeing on the screen for those who missed it. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. This has been NASCAR Inside the Race. As always, rate, review, subscribe. Check us out everywhere we're available every weekday or every Sunday after the race when broadcast goes on the air. Come and check us out for more information.